to Coffee and Chats. My name is Lindsay Giese, and I'm the Executive Director for River Arts, Inc. And today, my special guest is Dave Considine. Hi, Dave. Good morning.
Hi. I'm glad to be talking with you.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We, of course, are drinking John Joseph coffee. And today I am rocking the new River Arts mugs, probably a little reverse to you, but they come in tan and blue. And they're only available this year for our 20th anniversary of programming. So come get yours at the gallery today.
Let's do that.
All right, Dave. Well, I have some very difficult questions for you today. I hope you're ready. I know.
Go ahead.
I know people ask all sorts of questions to you, but these are good ones.
I stand in front of fourth grade kids and tell them they can ask me whatever they want. So I've had interesting questions.
Oh, I bet you have. Okay, but what I do like to do with every guest is start with a little introduction. So if you could please start by telling us a little bit about your background and where you're from and a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm a former teacher, farmer, retired from teaching after 30 years and farming 10 years full-time before that. Have lived in my representative district for 46 years, lived between Baraboo and Portage, and represent this area in the state assembly. This is the end of my third term.
Fantastic. I was doing a little digging into your background, and so I found out, now I don't know if this was always the case on your farm, but that you had goats and sheep primarily?
Yes, I milked 140 head of goats, and I had 70 ewes that I lambed and sold the lambs.
Oh my goodness.
It was a 225 acre farm. I had 165 acres of tillable.
Is that unusual? I guess I don't know a lot of goat farmers. Is that common around here?
I would say it's not common around here. If people have seen goat farms around here, they have the name Considine. Okay. I still have a brother who farms on Highway 78 toward Portage. And my family's kind of known as dairy goat gurus. My dad wrote the dairy goat scorecard. So I have been involved in dairy goat husbandry forever. I still judge a few goat shows once in a while.
Is it harder or easier to milk a goat or a cow?
I would say it's easier to milk a goat. For one thing, you got two hands and they have two teats if you're doing it by hand. If you're talking about machines, though, it's actually a little more difficult because they don't give as much milk and the machine doesn't stay on as long. And so one person can't run as many machines.
The more you know.
Yeah. Who would know that, huh?
I didn't. Thanks for teaching me that today. You also have a lot of apple trees?
I do. And they are really good this year. There are a lot of really nice apples. When I was farming full-time, and actually for 20 plus years, we ran 14 acres of apple orchard and sold the apples on the farm. I would squeeze 300 gallons of cider a week, and we would, our best days were a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon in October when we would sell maybe $5,000 worth of apples a day. And that was back when the most expensive apples you could buy, the best that we had, were $10 a bushel. So that was a lot of apples.
But you don't do that anymore.
I don't do that anymore. We host a cider fest at our house. We canceled it this year. We'll probably still squeeze some cider, but usually we squeeze 150 to 200 gallons of cider with a group of friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, I also know that you have performed in some shows in Baraboo.
Yeah.
Do you know how many shows? Like, can you list some of them?
I was in Fiddler on the Roof with my son, Sam or Aaron. Many times I did it with my sons who were in high school at the time. I was in Oliver with Sam when the Baraboo Theater Guild did it. Man, what else have I? There's a couple of others. Oh, State Fair. The Gershwin one. And then I've also done, mostly I do musicals because I like to sing and I'm known as a singer, and I've done a number of solo concerts, and so.
What is your favorite musical?
Oh, that's a good question. What's my favorite musical? Probably Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yes. Did
I,
you see the film version that came out with John Legend and Sarah
I
Bareilles?
did. I thought that was fantastic. I really like that.
I did too, and I haven't been a fan of a lot of those like the it's made for TV musical,
Yeah,
but that one was good.
yeah. I thought they were pretty true to the music and they did some really cool stuff.
Do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Oh man, I used to. um, there was what's the name? What's the title? Left a good job in the city.
Oh,
Working
Proud
for
Mary.
every night and day.
Yes.
I never lost 1 minute of sleep and working on the way things might have been. Big wheels keep on turning. Actually, for a while, this was like 20 years ago, for extra income, I drove boats for the Dells Boat Company on the Wisconsin River, the Upper Dells. And I would sing river tunes as we came down river to
Oh,
the passengers. So that was fun.
when did you fit that in?
I don't know. It was right after I quit farming full time and had some time in the summers and was looking for something that maybe I would enjoy doing in retirement to bring in a little extra income.
Yeah,
Um,
fun.
did it for
I
three,
was
4 years.
just talking to somebody about like who did some of the Dell's boat tours, and she said it was the best summers of her life for doing those.
Well, they're kind of fun. Being on the river is fantastic. And the Upper Dells is just a gorgeous place to be.
Yeah.
When I applied for that, they said, so what do you know about boating? And I said, I don't know much. I piloted a boat once in my life and made the corner too steep and almost dumped it over. But I said that was when I was 9 years old. My uncle took me off his lap and said, you don't get to do this anymore. But I said, I've run all sorts of equipment on the farm. I've driven big trucks. I said, I can figure out how to run a boat.
Yeah. It can't be more difficult than that.
It's a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So yeah, within 2 or 3 weeks, they said, you're fine, you can go. So it was great.
Tell me about your shoe collection. Where are we at? How many shoes?
I think it's 170 right now.
And they're not just any shoes, they're a specific kind of shoe.
There's all Converse of different colors. I started doing that because kids that I taught in school, I taught students who were behaviorally struggling. And they would say they would come to school to see what shoes I was wearing and what outfit I was wearing that day. So I just started doing that and kept it up once I got to the assembly because it's kind of my trademark. People are, even on the floor, they want to come up and see what shoes I'm wearing that day.
Do you think that could be a Guinness World Record?
No, I know there's somebody in Cincinnati or somebody somewhere that's got 300 and some pairs. I don't know if they're all different, but
you better get working on that. You gotta double your collection. You need
I guess,
closet.
yeah, that would be a lot.
Don't tell Gretchen I said that. I don't know how she feels about it.
And I'm kind of cheap about it. I always buy them when they're on sale or other ones. The last 6 pairs I bought for $12.50 a pair.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Okay, Dave, here we go. Do you have
starting now?
Yeah. Do you have any pet peeves?
Pet peeves? Oh, I don't have any. I could name my wife's, but I don't have any.
Oh.
Do I have any pet peeves? I'm a really mellow guy. I don't know that I have any pet peeves.
Oh, that's so nice.
I taught students that were labeled emotionally, behaviorally disordered, and my boat doesn't get rocked very often.
Yeah, that's great. Good for you. Teach us that. Teach us how to be that way. Well, so speaking of that, as a former teacher, how do you feel? Now we're going deep here. How do you feel about a lot of the decisions happening around the state regarding schools this year?
These are tough times, and it could be a really deep question, but I'm going to reflect what I just said. I think this is a time where we shouldn't be judging anybody because nobody knows. I don't think there is a right or a wrong answer. This is brand new. We've never been through it before. I think everybody is doing the best that they can. I'm really glad that for as long as possible, we kind of left people, and for schools, we still did, left it to the local school board to make up the decision on what was right for them in that area. For a long time, I was not in favor of doing a statewide mask mandate, but when we started escalating and got from one of the best in the nation to one of the worst, I kind of grudgingly supported that because I don't like telling people what to do. But I think it's just really important that we don't judge each other, that we don't say somebody's bad because they wear a mask or they don't wear a mask, because I don't walk in their shoes and I don't know what their perhaps phobias are, because some of those are really real about wearing a mask. So both sides, I don't think should be judging each other. And I wish we weren't taking sides and we were just all doing the best we could for each other.
Yeah, well, and that attitude certainly would keep the stress away. You know, when you're worried about what other people are doing, all that can do is create more anxiety. So,
yeah.
What was your favorite part of teaching, and what do you miss the most?
I just love being around kids. Kids have such cool energy, and they're so inventive and creative about play, about all sorts of things if you leave them alone and let them do their thing. And so I love that energy. The teachers, fourth grade teachers in this area will tell you that when I come to the classroom, I leave the kids riled up, but we have a good time, and you know, they're having fun, and they're having fun learning about state government, which I think is really cool. And so it's the energy that kids have. They're just awesome.
Yep. Oh, so during Dancing with the Stars that you participated in,
yeah,
and did a wonderful job. I got to see, we filmed some promotional videos, so I got to see you interact with the community. And I remember a particular person who, you know, you were there filming this thing for Dancing with the Stars, but this person wanted to ask a political question to you. And you handled it, so I thought, really beautifully and very respectfully, even though I figured probably your opinion on the matter was different than his. It was still a really nice conversation. How do you handle those situations? And then taking that a step further, do you have friends that have very different opinions than yours? And how does that cause a rift with your friendships, or how do you handle that?
I have friends with very different opinions. And sometimes it can be difficult, but sometimes you just choose not to talk about things. But I think almost anybody will talk to me about their opinions, and it's okay with me. And I try to listen, and I don't know, I have one opinion, they have another, but that doesn't mean mine's any necessarily better than theirs. And I always try to keep that in mind. And I think almost always I learn something from other people. People have a different perspective on life. You know, I was just putting up one of my big signs the other day in rural Caledonia on the way to Portage on Highway 78. And I don't think this guy votes for very many Democrats. And he was angry with me. He had been that I hadn't visited the Portage prison in a while, and that's one of my big concerns in my district. Partially because I had a meeting scheduled in March 20th, so that got canceled, and then getting into the prisons was just, but I appreciated the reminder that I needed to get back there for both the inmate's sake and for the corrections officer's sakes. And so that was really appropriate. And we had probably a 20-minute long conversation, you know, because he's angry about some things.
Yeah.
but we still respect each other. We had a good, I had a person assisting me, a young man who wanted to shadow, and he was helping me put up signs. He said, man, you handled that really well. I had a hard time keeping my mouth shut because I didn't like some of the stuff he was saying, you
Yeah.
know. I really genuinely appreciate talking to people
Yeah.
and appreciate their perspective.
Ooh, what's the number one topic people come up to you to talk about? I guess you could say both now and then pre-COVID.
Well, right now it's unemployment. I am getting continual calls in my office. It's a little less now, but we got close to a month behind, just like in our response, and that's unusual for my office. But we've had, 10 to 50 times as many applicants for unemployment, and DWD's not keeping up. They're finally getting their head above water, but people are still a long ways out. And so a lot of contacts about that, a lot of people unhappy. And again, I think partially because it's who I am. Frequently my staff will contact me and say, Dave, this person's really angry, will you? And I volunteered that because she was getting stressed. I said, hey, I did that when I was teaching. When things get hot, that's my job. I'm the guy who's sitting in that seat. So if they want to get hot, and that's fine, I need to talk to them because you don't have to take that, because she was getting stressed. And so there are days when I've made 5 to 10 phone calls to individuals who are frustrated, and for most of them, I think it was helpful to talk to me, to get my perspective, to know that I was concerned. I talked to the Secretary of the Department of Workforce Development at least bi-weekly and can give them updates on that. I will share with him some stories, and they appreciate that. We ought to check this out because I've heard this isn't working the way we want it to be. And I think everybody likes that. So that's the huge one, probably more than COVID. I mean, the whole mask thing has caused struggle, and I've gotten a lot of contacts about that. Yep. Previous to that, what would be the most common? I think probably the most common would have been environmental concerns. This is a district that really is concerned about the environment. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people would contact about this happening here or there. The flooding certainly has been a huge issue in our area for the last 2 or 3 years. So.
And then when you get phone calls like that, like what's the next step? What are you able to do?
If I can hook them up with resources, I will do that. Many times I can make a referral or hook them up with resources. There are times those contacts have resulted in me writing legislation, to help fix the problem. There are times when I've referenced those conversations when I'm in debate with some of my colleagues about things that we should do in the assembly. So really all of those things. I mean, it's just whatever seems logical. Sometimes it will be contacting another representative and saying, hey, do you want to work on this with me? Because this is an issue that somebody brought up. But really a lot of the stuff I work on comes from constituents contacting me.
So those phone calls and those conversations do matter and are important.
Yeah, very.
What platform are you personally most passionate about? I told you I had tough questions today.
I'm super passionate about education still, and really want to fight for our public schools. I want to help parents to have really good options. And I just think that's really important because I think that's the backbone of how our economy is going to grow and develop. And I'm also passionate about education being personal, and I hate testing. I don't think it evaluates. I think it's unfair to a whole lot of lower income people, to a whole lot of people not white. And so I want education to be broad, and it's really hard to test and put on a piece of paper or on a computer test. the things that you know and the experiences that you have and the way that you deal with people. And so I want education to be very personal, and I fight for that.
Thank you for that. Oh, for the November election, what advice do you have for the undecided voters?
If at all possible, and it's not as possible as I would like right now, try to find a way to meet and see in person the people that you're voting for.
Oh,
I
interesting.
really think that I welcome this opportunity because I want people to know me. I want people to know my passions. I want them to see me in action. And I think that's the best way, and most of us would say that's the best way to evaluate a person. Don't necessarily take other people's, I consider other people's ideas, obviously, I've talked about that, but make your own judgment. Get to know the person yourself.
Yeah. And you are, even with COVID going on, you still have, like, I don't know if town hall is the right term, but are you still having?
Well, that's why I say this is a really hard time. Before we did this, I said I just recorded 4 interviews with different businesses just to show people how I interact and the ways in which I like to work with constituents in the district. And I hope to do a few more of those, and we'll put those online. Most election seasons, I've knocked on 15,000 doors in the district, and I'm not able to do that this time. I don't think a lot of the residents feel like that's safe for me to go knock on their door. And so this is a different cycle. And that may not work this time, but I would say contact them, ask them what their platform is, look at the things that they've done. Watch some of the speeches that they've given on the floor of the state assembly. You can see all of those, so that you know the person you're voting for. What's that?
Where does somebody go to watch those? You can watch all, like, they're all archived?
Yep, they're on Wisconsin Eye, which is, I guess, an independent group that films all of our floor sessions. They film a lot of the committee sessions. They film the Public Service Commission for people who have been concerned about, for a whole lot of government meetings. They are storing those, and you can get clips or whatever. And if people were interested in that, we could send them clips of things that I speak about when I'm talking on the floor of the assembly. We regularly will put out clips of that during session on our Facebook and website.
Oh, great. Then for the presidential race, would you kind of say a similar thing, although we maybe can't see the candidates in person, to watch the debates to get a better feel versus just reading articles about them? Or, like, what can we do to be better educated on those candidates?
I think always watching the debates. I'm a Democrat, and I watched all of the Democratic convention. But last night I watched an hour, better than an hour, of the Republican convention, because I feel like I also need to know what they're saying and what they're thinking and what they're doing. And I really think that's important for everybody. Too many of us get channeled into just talking to people that are similar to us and don't broaden out and have that experience of other people have different ideas and I can learn from them.
Yeah. Do you think the arts industry will be impacted long-term as a result of COVID? And is there anything that the general public could do to help that? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's going to take a while for, especially musicians, who, I have some really good friends that do a lot of live music. That is their source of income. Yeah. And I think it's going to take a while to recover. And I think for people to feel safe going to venues like we used to, and having 200 people in an outside area at the Vintage, or 50 people in an outside area just down the street here. I don't think people are quite ready for that yet, so I think it's going to take a while for people to get comfortable, and I don't know what the new normal is. But I hope we get there. And I love what they did in Madison after the riots, the art that they immediately spruced up State Street with. Artists are finding ways to express themselves, but they're not having as readily as ways to support themselves. And so I think we can be cognizant of that and try to find ways to support them.
All right, shifting gears again. I feel like I've bounced around quite a bit, but what have you done anything this summer that you wouldn't normally have done if COVID didn't exist? Like, do you have a new hobby? Are you doing anything new these days?
I would say nothing new except, well, we bought a brand new camper and we're going to go camping more frequently. Not a brand new, it was a new used one, not very used. We had a older, bigger one, and we bought a smaller one. So that's very new. Last summer we put in a swimming pool, so I have 12 grandchildren now, and it's regular that I have 4, 5, 8, 10 grandchildren there playing around in the pool. Yeah. So a lot of times we swim with that.
Good timing on that you put it in. That was good timing to put it in last year and be ready for this year.
Oh, no kidding. And I had to put in solar energy to support that. So I'm not going to wreck the environment because I have a pool. So I have a whole bunch of solar energy that we put in at the same time to hopefully have no electric bill. But we're getting really close to that on average. The other thing that was significant is my wife and I spend a whole lot more time walking, especially when COVID was at its heat. From March 13th to the end of April, we probably walked an average of 20 to 25 miles a week. And we would pick up trash. We actually picked up 6 miles worth of road trash all around our house, in scopes, and brought it back home to recycle or garbage. But so that was a very different thing. And a lot of my neighbors noticed that and were very appreciative.
All right. Yeah. Cleanest roads around.
Well, yeah, and I was just griping the other day. I went for a walk with my daughter and my wife, and it's like, I didn't bring a trash bag. I got to get the trash bag again, because it doesn't take long for us to get them dirty as a society.
Yep. So true. It's too bad.
Yeah.
That's like a simple thing to.
Yeah, we talked about making it a game that we would pick a few spots where we picked up and say, here's a garbage can, put a target on it and say, please deposit here. See if you can hit it from the road. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We didn't do it, but.
All right. Well, I just have one more question for you, Dave. And hopefully it's to end on a positive note, but through all of this, what gives you hope, both the short term and the long term?
I was visiting with Janet Frisch. I did one of the videos with her from Corner Drug. And she was sharing that during the hardest of these times, when her store was closed down, when all she did was drive through because she was worried about the safety of her employees, the way we've kind of hung together, even though it's been really hard, the way that people have supported the restaurants when they were closed by doing drive up and drive through things, because they knew it was hard, and would not just, she said there were people who would have $5 in change and they would say, I don't want change, just go buy something for the employees, you get donuts. And there's been a lot of that, and I've heard a lot of those stories. And I just think that says a lot about our society and how resilient and strong we are as a people.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Dave. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch upon today?
No, not really. I'm just glad you called me to do this, and I'm so supportive of the arts and of what we need people to be. We started talking about education and the creativity of kids, and we need to encourage that.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks so much, Dave. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. I will look forward to it.